In the words of my late grand-mère, you have got to use what you have to get what you want. Or maybe that was Ronnie from the Players Club. Be that as it may, perfection is an excuse. I said it. There, I said it. Anyone who is waiting for the perfect time to do anything doesn't want to do it because... Bonjour mes amis and bienvenue to my 25 days of vlogging. C'est moi, Jessie, your resident Francophile, and here on Cappuccinos and Consignment, I focus on lifestyle, travel, and finance. S'il vous plaît, take a moment to like, subscribe, and follow. Follow me over on Insta. I have a blog, and I am desperately trying to find my way on TikTok. So I don't know who needed to hear this, but delete the camera from the cart. Delete the crazy expensive domain package, delete the software, delete it all because you do not need all of those things to start. In the words of my late grand-mère, you have got to use what you have to get what you want. Or maybe that was Ronnie from the Players Club. Be that as it may, get started with what you have. Oh, time for a sip. Okay, so let's start. I have been blogging for, I think it's been 3 years now. Actually, February makes it 3 years. If I'm wrong, I'll enter it here. It started as a hobby. I had gotten remarried, relocated, and had a really long commute. And I needed something to fill that time. I have a degree in art history and fashion design, and I needed a creative outlet because my place of employment at the time did not give way for anything creative. But I knew I did not have the bandwidth or the time to be as creative as I wanted to, as in designing clothes. I had to think of something realistic, something that I can do while I was commuting. My dear cousin had been telling me for years that I needed to start a blog. Like when I was living in Istanbul, in Italy, just so many places. She told me, you should start blogging. People would love to hear about this. And in my head, I thought that was so bizarre. Like, who would want to watch or read about me living my life? Turns out a lot of people do. But it was one of those things I just wasn't ready. And no matter what, I found an excuse as to why I could not start. And that is one of the biggest things that I see with a lot of people who want to start creating content. And not just content. I'm going to use that as an analogy because, of course, I can speak about that firsthand. But it's not just content creating. It is a lot of things that we want to do in our lives that we feel it has to be the perfect time. And guess what? Perfection is an excuse. I said it. There, I said it. Anyone who is waiting for the perfect time to do anything doesn't want to do it because there will never be a perfect time. It will never be a perfect time to start the blog. It will never be a perfect time to go back to school. It will never be a perfect time to start your bakery. Anything that you want to do, if you are waiting for perfection, you are looking for an excuse. And with that, equipment is the other thing that I hear often. When I receive messages along the lines of, how can I start blogging? Can you give me some tips? You said it yourself. Start. That is the biggest thing. So many people will not start. It circles back to that entire perfection thing. I want to have the perfect blog name. I want to have the perfect website. You will be waiting forever. I am going to speak from my experience. Cappuccinos and Consignment. When I started this blog in February, I want to say 2019, and again, if I'm wrong, I won't insert it. When I started this blog in 2019, my dear cousin, the one who had been telling me for years I should start blogging, dropped what she was doing and came over to my house to help me like set up my domain and stuff because I am not a tech savvy person. I am now because I had to be, but we'll get there. She came over, helped me set up the blog. Her first question was, what's the name of your blog? Right then and there, I could have scrapped the whole thing because I didn't have some clever blog. I didn't know what I wanted the name to be. So I just threw something out there. I love cappuccinos and I love consignment. So how about cappuccinos and consignment? And voila, that is what we did. Was that the perfect name? Absolutely not. In all actuality, it is a horrible name when you look at all the opportunities to mess that name up. For the most part, cappuccinos is not in the everyday vernacular of most Americans, and absolutely no shade or no slight, but a lot of people can't spell cappuccinos. So I think about so many missed opportunities, or I guess it wasn't meant for me if it was missed. But I think about how many times people may have tried to find me but couldn't spell it correctly. So everything about cappuccinos and consignment is wrong when you look at it from a project planning perspective, because you always want to make things easier, and that is not. I could have stopped there. I can't think of a name. Thanks for coming. Close the MacBook, and that would have been it. But I started it, and I told myself if for some reason down the road I want to change the name, I can, but I want to start. This is something that I want to do. When I started my blog, and at that time it was just the blog, I did not even invest in a proper domain name. I did not want to pay anything. And that is one of my number one recommend. I feel like I keep saying number one. All of these things are important, okay? But I feel like that's one of the things too. Do not spend money until you know you are invested. And that echoes the sentiments of being realistic. If you are like me and you have a knack for starting things and not finishing, please do not waste your money. And you have to be honest with yourself. I know that I get a bit flighty at times. I know that I have issues with committing when it comes to careers. If you did not see my previous vlog, I shared all of my careers, from being an assistant buyer to a textile designer in Turkey to a mortician. So I know that I like to hop around. And with that, I did not want to spend a lot of money buying a domain name, paying for a website to be built, because I truly didn't know if I was going to stick to it. So I got the free package. When you looked on the website, you could see the banner of the company all around the blog, but I didn't care, because at that point, I needed to show myself that I was going to not only start, but to remain consistent. So please do not invest a lot of money when you are first starting a project, a venture, whatever it is, if you are not 100% sure that you are going to continue to invest in this venture. I was using my phone at the time to blog. I'm certain I had a MacBook, because I've always had a MacBook. But when I was commuting, I did not want to take my MacBook, so I used my iPad. When I was on the train, I will pull out my iPad. I got one of the keyboards that you could attach to the Mac, that you could attach to the iPad to make it look like a laptop. And that's what I did. I used the least amount of money, and I used everything that I already had. Even my email address. Use a free email address until you are ready to really be serious about this. To this day, I still use my cappuccinosandconsignment at gmail.com. I'm not getting rid of that. I use that for a lot of the spam things. So yeah, you do not have to invest a lot of money. When I started blogging, I had a Samsung, and Vintage Mess and Me over on Insta will remember this. I had my Samsung, and that is what I used for my photos. I'm going to try to insert photos, but it is a bit difficult for me to do those things because I am trying to record, edit, and post on the same day in conjunction to so many other things behind the scenes. So I will do my best. But I used my phone. I didn't have a fancy camera. I didn't have a photographer. When I was in the office, I would get a coworker. If I was outside on the lunch break, I would get a coworker. Hey, can you take a picture of me really quick? I even got the help of my dear son, Juju the camera kid, hence the name, because he would do it for me. I knew that if I was waiting for a photographer, or if I had to pay for a photographer, that I would have never started. Up until 2 vlogs ago, I am still doing my own photos because I do not want to spend a lot of money right now on photographs, especially when it's not a big deal, so to speak. These are just photos that I'm using for a blog, or most recently a brand collaboration. The photo is going to be so small, I really don't want to invest. And with the phones that we have, we can do that. So I did an entire vlog showing you all how I create content using my phone. Do I have a camera? Yes, but it is not necessary. If that is something that you want to invest in, I can't tell you not to. However, I know that that is one of the biggest excuses when it comes to starting whatever project it is that you want. Equipment is expensive. It is so expensive. To even get the most basic camera, you could spend over $600. Mess and Me inquire often, oh, what ring light do you use? I don't use any of that. I try to record during the day when I can just open my blinds. I truly practice what I preach. I do not want to invest in things until I know it is going to pay off. And is it paying off? Slowly but surely. I've also shared this as well, that I do not do a lot of brand deals for multiple reasons, and you will have to watch that vlog. But with that, I have to be very, very conscious with how much money I spend on things, because as it stands, Cappuccinos and Consignment is self-sustaining, and I cannot and will not rely on brands to keep my brand afloat. And these LVs ain't gonna buy themselves. So use what you have. The other issue about investing in fancy equipment is that you have just unconsciously, or maybe consciously, and you're just using that as an excuse, you are adding an additional burden to your load. Here it is, you have already taken step one in pursuing your dream. Now you have to try to learn new equipment. If you did not go to school for photography or videography, or if you just do not have a background in that, now you have to learn how to use a camera. Some cameras are point and shoot, but for the most part, the cameras that a lot of content creators use, they're pretty complex. And that takes a lot of time trying to learn how to use all of these features, which ones are the best. It's a lot. And if you are working a full-time job, if you are halfway committed to this side hustle, whatever it is, any little excuse that you can get will be the reason why you stop. So that is another reason why I say do not invest in fancy, expensive equipment, because the learning curve will stop you. Use what you have. A lot of software is free. To this day, right now, the vlog that you are watching, I am going to edit with a free software that came with my MacBook Pro. I have not invested in a new software because right now I need to, again, I feel like at this point I've shown that I have committed to this, but I need to learn how to use all the features on this free device before I even think about going to pay for one. And it's not really necessary. I'm not doing stunts or anything that requires me to need, I don't know, the same software that Steven Spielberg used. Like, I don't think that's necessary. So use what you have. And if you do have to get additional things, try to get the least expensive to make sure that you are not hemorrhaging a lot of money at the beginning. That is another reason why people do not start, because they feel they don't have the money to invest in their new venture. That's an excuse as well. As I mentioned, all the things that I am using right now, I already have, or it's free. There are so many apps that you can download on your phone to edit photos. Some people use Adobe Suite Illustrator. I don't use those. I try not to do a lot of editing on my photos because I still want to look like me when you all meet me in person. I think about those people who filter and edit their photos to the gods. Yeah, they look good, but what happens when people meet you on the street? So I don't have a paid editing app because I just use what's on my phone. I adjust the brightness a little bit, maybe get rid of contrast. If there's a piece of paper or a cup on the ground, because I am in the city, I'll edit that out, but do not do any major rendering to my photos that will require me to need sophisticated software. And I continue to use content creating as an example because for the most part, if you are here, you are into those kind of things. Another component of content creator that I have seen stall potential content creators is this notion of always having to have something new. This is from 2000 and I want to say 16 when I lived in South Africa. And if you have watched any of my vlogs or any of my Instagram, you will see that I wear my pieces over and over and over. Do not feel the need to not want to be photographed in the same thing. I did not realize how big of a community that I would build just off of wearing my clothes over and over. I will never forget a comment that I received on Insta that many Mesame thought was like shade. I didn't take it that way. This was about a year and a half after I had started blogging and eventually went to Instagram. Someone put on my post, "I love that you wear the same clothes." I didn't see the problem in that because it's the truth. I do wear the same clothes. And it was after that comment that other people started saying, I really love that you do this. I don't feel ashamed for wearing my same dress. You are so approachable. You are so, I see myself in you. And I just could not believe that that was a thing, that people did not want to rewear their clothes because of social media. I have written at least 2 blogs about this. Say yes to the dress again, that we should cherish the things that we have. Whether it's a $1,000 dress or $1, it is your dress. Do not feel compelled to buy. Overconsumption is such a horrible thing, and especially in the realm of fashion and style content creating. So do not let that be the reason that you do not show up on or off camera. I said it. Another excuse, and I'm going to say excuse. I am not trying to be mean. I am just calling it like it is. Another excuse that I hear with respect to content creating or starting is that I don't want to do things in public. I don't want to take photos in public. You don't have to. Again, a quick scroll down my IG and you will see many of my photos are taken here with this same background. I don't like taking photos outside. The vlog that I posted with me doing the behind the scenes content creating outdoors, that was so hard for me. I do not like taking photos in general, but especially outside. But it is a learning process, and it is all about getting out of your comfort zone. And not that your comfort zone is a bad thing, but if you do want to explore new territories, sometimes you literally have to explore new territories. If you are not ready to do that, create content in a space that you feel safe. Have it in your home. It doesn't have to be anything extravagant. If you do not have the Instagram or TikTok aesthetic looking home, that still doesn't have to stop you. Find a plain background. There were times, and I'll try to find these photos. I don't know if I'll have time. I used to use a sheet, a bedroom sheet, a white sheet. I ironed it and I hung it across my wall so that you could not see the imperfections of my space. And that is what I used. You have got to start. You have got to start. You will never have the best photos. You will never have the best website. You will never have any of those things, but you have got to start. I want you all to go look at my Instagram and scroll all the way down to the beginning, because I will never delete those photos. To me, that shows my evolution, and I keep those strategically. Even my vlogs here, I keep my old vlogs because I want people to see the progression. I want people to see how hard work really does pay off. So I am begging you to start that dream, pursue your goals. You do not have to invest a lot of money, especially if what you are doing is in a digital space. There is absolutely no excuse. Of course, if you are trying to open a bakery or, I don't know, a mechanic shop, that takes a bit more. But if what you are trying to do can be done from your phone, from a computer, do it. There is no excuse. I do hope that the tips I shared here helped you realize that you do not have to invest or have a lot to start. You don't even have to have a script. I just spoke from the heart here. You don't need it. You don't need it. Trust me, the best vlogs and blogs are those that come from your heart. A lot of people now in the space of social media are tired of seeing seemingly perfect photos, perfect homes, perfection. Do not let those things stop you. Please start today. If you have any additional questions about any of the tips I shared or want to know more, please leave those comments below and I will see you all tomorrow. Alrighty, ciao for now.